Alright, there we go. Check the audio. Alright, cool. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the stream. It's been a while. As you guys can see, this is a picture of a character from Soul Calibur, my favorite fighting game series. Been working on this off and on, so it's like a cleaned up sketch type thing. But alright, before I get into that, I want to also express that I also do other things. So I set up a little bit here, so it's for people who end up watching the video later, and whatnot. So yeah, so if you guys don't know, I create a comic book or a manga called, I guess a web manga called The Divinity. I've been posting it for a while now. I posted on Webtoon, and I'm also on Tapas. So if you frequent those locations to read comics or webtoons, check out mine. It is in the style of a manga, meaning it is in black and white, and it is written or read from right to left. It is a action-adventure style story with a sprinkle of like elements and weapons and things of that nature in there. And lots of, I would say, choreographed fight scenes and stuff like that. So if you're interested in any of that, check that comic out. I have over 200 pages up and available to be read for free. And if you want to see any of the chapters before they hit Webtoon or any place else online, check out my Patreon, where you can find exclusive sketches, practice, illustrations, write-ups, all types of stuff like that. And of course, chapter exclusives, timed exclusives that will hit Patreon more than a month, then they will come out on other platforms. And obviously, if you just want to support the work that I do anyway, you know, the lowest tier I have is $1. So, yeah. So check that out. Link should be below, and if you can't find it, just type my name in, Altrodesi, into Patreon or Google, and you'll find all types of links there. But it should be below. Here's an example of one of the things that I worked on recently. It's like a journal idea from my wife. She has like this writing journal, and she asked me to do a cool like cover for her. So I worked on this. It's Boji from Ranking of Kings. I thought it turned out pretty well. I liked it a lot. Yeah, I eventually cut it to size out of this, and I placed it inside of wife's notebook. So yeah, there will be a write-up on this that should be coming out either tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, so I'll be doing a write-up on that as far as like the breakdown, the process, you know, composing the image, coming up with the idea, the sketches, you know, the beginning process of what I colored first and why. All of that stuff's going to be broken down into some type of, you know, readable article with each picture for each part of the process. That will be on Patreon as well. And I also have an example of what's to come for one of the, I guess the, some of the warm-ups that I usually post. So, I would say the $1 tier, you're going to get a plethora of, exclusive sketches and things of that nature. And this is the type of stuff that I do. I do breakdowns on, like, gesture drawing, and, well, not breakdowns. I practice gesture drawings and figure drawings and stuff like that. Also character art, but I do a lot of practice, and I'm always, you know, trying to improve. So one other addition that I started to do with my gestures is I started finally shading them. So I try to quickly create a gesture, and I quickly put down a shadow, usually do an outline of the shadow area I want to create, and then I just go ahead and fill that in with like my pencil tool or something. And that's been pretty fun recently. So here's an example of that. So yeah, and when I update on my Patreon with sketches. I don't just update with one of these, I update with a multitude of these type of sheets for each one. So it's usually 2 to 3 sheets per upload. So there's a lot of these there. So, if you, again, once you support, check out my Patreon. There's a lot of content there at this point. So yeah, back to this. So Soul Calibur is my favorite fighting game series, and when I did play, I played it a lot. I probably put what, 300 hours into the Steam version, because at first I wasn't playing anything but console. So I already had the game on console, and then I switched over to PC later when my friends were telling me, you know, PC is pretty good and there's a lot of advantages there. So I went ahead and got it there. So if I were to add up my time, I would probably say that I probably spent about 200 hours at least on the console version, and this is without the internet. This is just me enjoying the game, playing all the offline modes. And I got every single trophy there was to get for playing offline. I did the whole create a soul thing, all the offline modes. I'd done all of them. And then when I got the version on PC, I played the heck out of it there, and I had friends to play with finally, because, you know, online was already paid for. We already paid for the internet, so I didn't have to pay for that twice. So that was great. But enjoyed that a lot. Got a lot of people to try it out, check it out. Play a lot of my friends, and even got to compete at one point, but I did not do well. But it was still fun. Either way, favorite fighting game series. Been playing it for a long time, other than just 6. Been playing it since Soul Blade. But yeah, like this character Wong, and I was really happy to have them back in the game. And I usually don't do fan art. I'm usually working on my own series or practicing. But for this one, I said, you know, I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try and draw this character because I like this character. So went ahead and got started with that. And it took me a while to get to this point with like the drawing. But yeah, I just realized I could have just put a time lapse on or something. That could have been fun. So here's a little how I started. So I was probably looking at a reference of the super they do, essentially. The Soul Edge. I forget what it's called right now. So many different terms in this game. But yeah, the super that they do, and how they land and they get ready to catch the blade after they use it. And I thought that would be cool. So I had sketched out a previous one of this character where they're doing like the kicking pose. And I was like, ooh, wouldn't it be cool if like right after they do the attack, they catch the blade? I'll sketch that out. And as I was sketching out, I was really enjoying it because I just bought some new pencils. It's like new digital tools or whatever. And I'm often trying to look for any type of tool that can help me enjoy drawing digitally, which recently I feel like I've hit perfect point for that. I have multiple tools now that I'm really happy with and confident with, and they do multitude of things, you know. Sometimes I didn't like the very thin pencils. They didn't give me the effect that I wanted, and I didn't know how to improve them. So I'll be upset about it, and I would just be like, I'd rather draw with a pencil, a real pencil, right? Same thing. I feel like the inking tools digitally are easily more acceptable compared to like a pencil tool. Pencil tool can be so many different types of things. You can have a mechanical type of pencil. You might want a charcoal type of pencil. You might want a softer pencil. You know, there's all these things, and these got textures. And sometimes when the textures just don't match up with what you expect it to be, pencil just doesn't hit the way it's supposed to. So yeah, it becomes a little bit annoying. But I eventually got to a place where, like I said, I enjoy drawing digitally now. And when I need to manipulate a tool, I know how to. Or I know what to ask or figure out from a friend or someone like that. So I have help in that area. But one of the main packs that I got was the, I believe they're the Lane Draws pencil charcoal charcoal brush pack. I think it was kind of expensive, but from the outside looking in, it looked really good, so it looked like it was worth it. I think it was around 20 bucks, maybe 25 bucks when I bought it. It has a lot of tools in there. I don't use every single one of them, but there are so many of them that I experimented with all of them. I like using a lot of them, but I only use a few of them because, you know, I have a certain, I guess, taste or feel for what I'm trying to get with my art at this point. And I kind of like this chunky pencil type thing, where when I draw with a little bit of pressure, the pencil line is really light and also maybe thin. And then when I put more pressure, it gets thicker and darker. I don't know, a lot of tools do that, but there's a lot of tools in that pack that do that very well. And I also like when you can hold a pencil on its side and get that really broad shading effect. I think that helps a lot. So yeah, I definitely recommend that pack if you can find it. You should be able to. It's still probably active on Gumroad. But yeah, that's what I use to create this. I'm pretty sure I liked probably 2 pencils from this that I always would use, and one of them would be like the soft or the smooth charcoal brush, and then I forget what the other one was. It's probably like, it's called Ranger or something like that. I forget what it is, but yeah, I've tried out a new one recently, and I've been really digging it. I actually forget the name of it. I'll check after this gets to a certain point on video. But yeah, it was fun. It was it was cool. I think I was working on this when I was sick. I might have had a cold or something, and it took me a long time to get the pencils where I wanted them to be. But that's great because, like I said, usually I just don't like drawing digitally at all because my skills don't translate well, and the tools, feels like I'm fighting them. And I think it's been about a year, maybe a year and some change, that I've been really like feeling like I can push my work digitally to the point where finally now I'm drawing more digitally than I am traditionally. And I think the reason why is, you know, I figured what the reason would be that I would like really enjoy it if I didn't have to worry about like the tools that I use. And I knew the benefit would be organization and uploading. And it's funny, I went straight from that into just putting most of my content on Patreon. But still, right? Being able to draw and then manipulate the size of things and organize them well, and then take a screenshot or save them in a folder and just do that over and over again, I think that's pretty good. I think that's really good. I think that helps out a lot. Because for the most part, all I do when I draw traditionally is I draw something traditionally on paper, and then if I like it, I take it, and if I want to upload it somewhere, I have to take a picture of it because scanning will take too long. So I just stand it up against something so it can get good lighting, and then after that, take a picture of it and try to upload it or whatever. So it basically cuts out the middlemen, if you will, and I don't have to worry about that. I'm already in editing phase, so it works pretty well. But yeah, here's like my first pass at trying to color this. I downloaded some brushes that were watercolor based, and eventually when I came back to this and looked at it, I was just like, I don't like the effect that I'm getting here. I want to try something that felt more, I guess, pop arty. I don't know, something that leapt off the page a little better than that. So I wanted to go with more colorful, saturated approach. And I was gonna balance the design out a bit. So I guess I was trying to exaggerate the like what they do in the game, or at least for this character, without the player edits, it's kind of like more geared towards like realism and stuff like that, and I think that's great. It works. But when I think of expressing this character, I kind of want to try and use more saturated colors here and there. I don't know, I think it's funner. I don't know. But yeah, I wanted to try to experiment with that because I didn't want to just go directly from the reference and create something that I felt was a little boring. So I wanted to create something a little different, has a different feel, a little bit more energetic, a little bit more interesting to me. So that's why I changed up the colors like this. But yeah. So I'll stop this here because I can just show you guys where I've gotten to. So here's a bit of that. So here's where I got to that I kind of liked a bit. And I have a bit more to do. I have to color these things here. And I have to color this. It's funny, I almost want to call it money, but it's talismans. And change some things here and there. So I'll be looking at a reference and speaking to you guys. Love my Soul Calibur work. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for dropping by, Kai. But yeah. Sorry if it sounded kind of like I was rambling. Just wanted to get my thoughts out there. But man, it's been an interesting time seeing what Soul Calibur has become. I think I never thought that my mic is a little low. Well, that kind of sucks. Let me check. Maybe it's the music. Okay, let's see. You might be right. Oh no, it is pretty low. Why though? That's weird. It doesn't even look low. The handle joint is all the way up, almost. But I'll turn it up more. Alright, so that's up all the way now. Maybe I can turn this down a little bit. Okay, cool. Thanks for the tip, man. But yeah. Never thought about like growing into I don't know, a full-grown adult and thinking about like having kids and Soul Calibur's still gonna be around. I don't know. I don't think people even think about stuff like that. But it's interesting to just see. Like I don't think I've ever gotten to a level where I could actually compete correctly, I guess. So I don't know the game as properly as I could. But I've enjoyed it a lot, and been enjoying just watching people play the game and seeing how it's grown in different ways. At this point, I kind of want them to just embrace it a certain way, like embrace the orchestral themes and the music. Use that in your selling point, you know. It always feels like they know exactly what to do with like Tekken when they're promoting it, but they have no idea what to do to promote Soul Calibur. But I just want them to just take what the game has and just expand it, put a magnifying glass on it, because Soul Calibur fans enjoy the things they put in there, but it feels like when they want to promote it, it doesn't seem like they enjoy that stuff. It's very odd. But yeah, still a really fun game. It's definitely missing some things here and there, but a competitive scene that's very entertaining to watch, it's definitely not missing that. And also has a pretty passionate community. So, yeah. Yeah. Recently, I've been, almost as secretly, it's not even a secret. I've been working on this YouTube video. And, it's been interesting. We're working on this YouTube video. Not this one, right? But like a video, an upcoming video where I'm gonna be talking about visual, I guess communication. But I'm gonna be talking about it in a way where I'm kind of discussing how people break down comics or lack thereof, and yeah, just wanna put out there that there's different ways to kind of see things when it comes to breaking things down, and some people, they don't seem to see it. They don't see the extra work that a creator might be putting in a certain area, which could kind of stifle their own growth. And it also, if you go out your way to try and like talk to people about it, and you don't know how to break things down a certain way or at all, you might give people misinformation. And I kind of want to make sure that I make a video where I'm doing something where I'm actually informing people about these things, so that when younger people come up in like the art world, they won't look at something and just think that it's just that way because that person want to make something cool. It's like, sure, that could have been a part of it, but like, if you're studying very successful things are that way for a very particular reason. And if you don't think so, well, you might be missing a big part of why that thing's so successful. Yeah, I really want to make that video, working on it, kind of working on the script and the ideas for it, and just getting things down on paper, all my ideas. Yeah, I think it's important, so I want to do it. Because, I don't know, I feel like making something successful and a certain amount of successful while you have actual things that you can study, if you don't study them properly, you won't really get to learn from them the way you could. And then you'll wonder, like, how come you don't understand a certain thing? And it's like, well, or you'll just be, some people are okay with not understanding, or they think they do. And I'm just like how you can do master studies, right? In the art world, you can do that with like everything that has a design. You can break something down to the point where as though you can get into the basic shapes. You can get into, there's a lot of ideas that I already have in my head now, but from doing all this research, but basically it's like these things that we see all the time, they've been created with a certain specific purpose. And for a person to see that and then go, nah, it's just cool, or it's just simple, or whatever it is, without actually acknowledging all the different parts of it, at least to themselves even, if you go to try to create something in that genre or in that field, you probably won't do as well as you could if you actually understood the hits and the big successes in that field, I'm often reminded to, instead of, one of the most important questions you should ask yourself when you're drawing something, writing something, designing something, is why. It's one of the most important questions to ask yourself, because sometimes it's not like, if you're analyzing someone else's work, sometimes you can't get the answer to that unless you ask them. Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just can't just look at it and go, well, if I look at this and I see that, well, they did this previously, so, like, no, sometimes things are personal. And sometimes they might not even know why they're doing it, but if you ask them, it might make them go, wait, why did I do that? And then you might get the answer if they can recall it. But other than that, like, if you don't ask why, you won't really get to the bottom of things. Even asking why without getting to talk to a person will put you on a closer track, in my opinion, because it gets you to critically think about something to the point where so you can understand, at least from your own point of view, why someone would make the decision that they made to come up with the outcome that they did based off the design that they created. Whatever that is, whatever the thing that they created. So I guess I'm like, this little preview of some of the stuff I want to kind of bring up in the video, that I will be bringing up and talking about in the video. But yeah, I think it's important, like I said. And it goes far and wide. It goes far and wide. And I think one of the biggest motivations for me making this is, I feel like artists themselves don't understand the value of what they do, because maybe they're not on a certain level yet, so they don't want to think about that. But if you understood the value of what you did, you'd understand there's so much extra thought being put into it, and it allows the jobs that go through to be so impactful. A person who's a great designer can create something, and like a person could create a look for a comic book character, like let's say the Punisher. Like, whoever was the first person to put that freaking skull on Punisher's shirt or whatever, that was an important design. It may not have felt like it then, but it has become synonymous with the Punisher type thing. Like, is it the Punisher without that type thing? Like, that's how important that was. Now, to the person creating that, they may have thought, well, they did this for X amount of reasons. They didn't want to draw this and draw that, so they created a simple design. Whatever the reasons were. But it was a good design. Nonetheless, it's memorable. There's all these little good things about it. If you were like a younger artist and you were trying to figure out how to make a good design that's memorable for a character, you gotta look at the popular characters that are memorable. Even some of the newer ones, there are people like love those characters. Something about them is memorable, right? And then you ask yourself, why? Why are they memorable? How will this character compare to like a classic memorable character, right? Like Mickey Mouse, right? Mickey Mouse is probably one of the most, if not the most, memorable character, I guess, in American culture, I guess, or just in general. It's because of those shapes. It's because of what those shapes possibly represent. Obviously, you have extra forms of media there, right? Where you have their iconic voice, how they were animated, how they move, how they, what their story is, you know, all these things that can stick with you. But at the end of the day, all you need is that really good design, and all that stuff kind of can play back in your head to a degree, right? Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest motivations. I just want artists, or younger artists, I would say it's usually younger artists who I feel like aren't doing the critical thinking here. I just want people to think more, because you're going to go into the field of art and not understand your power, essentially, as an artist. You gotta understand a bit more of your own power, your own ability to create and put images in people's minds and have them stay there and have that stuff become memorable. And yeah, and if you do understand that, then great. It'll just be a reminder type video for those people. But yeah, I don't know, I'm always thinking like that. That's why I love comics, and I know exactly the usual part of comics I love. The usual part of comics that I love is comic book layouts. And the reason I like comic book layouts is, you ever read something so good that you have to go back and read it again? And then you're like, yo, how did they even get me to do this? Like, how did they set this up a certain way? That's me. That's me when I'm reading a good comic, and I'm just like, this was amazing. How did they get me to think about this, or go to that panel, then go to there? This was set up so well. The easiest thing to do as an amateur when it comes to comics is mess up the panel flow, because you end up trying to overperform. Start putting things out of the panel, start setting up bubbles, word bubbles, out of place where it's harder to read, you know, and things become essentially hard to read. Once things become hard to read, you start messing up the illusion that someone's in when they're reading the comic. And that's what you don't want to do. You want to keep people in the illusion of the comic. I'm gonna get something to drink real quick. All right. And I guess one of the things that always stick out to me is when a conversation is done really well, and when a fight scene is done very well. So when you have those character acting moments where people are really going through it, or they're being actual characters, are showing character growth, you know, the thing that you thought would be on their mind is on their mind, and it's just, you know, it's serious, or they're trying to downplay it, or whatever it is, you know. There's a lot going on there. And then you have the really nice choreographed fight scenes like you see in, like, I don't know, there's a lot of good ones these days, but, you know, old school stuff. You got your Dragon Balls, you got, I don't know, Blade of the Immortal, Tough. There's a lot of good battle choreography stuff from, like, those comics or whatever. And when you see them, you see how they work, you know. When I see how they work, or when I see them and they work well, I go, I gotta understand how they did this. And there's so much there that if it was out of place would take you out. It could be the way a hand was out of place, or turned a certain way, or anything like that could have took you out of it and going, hey, why is that hand like that? Why is that whatever like that, you know? So everything has to work a certain way for that stuff to kind of work. And once you understand how to make it work when you need it to work, that's great, because you can create more effective work. You can create more effective comics when you understand how character design works. You can create more effective character designs and memorable characters that will always stand out, which will make your work better, right? Like, whatever you create, you want it to be good. You know, you want it to be good for you, first of all. You can be like, I like my work. You should always want to like your work, if you can. And then you want to create something where it's memorable. If you know, if your stuff goes to a bookstore, right? And there's all these people who they're in the genre you're working in, and, you know, they got book covers, right? And you go ahead and you throw down your book. You put it in a pile of it with everybody else's work. You want your work to stand out, right? You want it to stand out. Some people I've seen, you know, they see the house styles these days. And if anyone doesn't get what that means, it just means there is a common style that people are working in within a specific genre or demographic or media type. And like for example's sake, the really popular Kel art style that I think Cartoon Network has a lot of shows that look like that. It's really safe to do that, but because of that, you won't stand out. And when you don't stand out, I don't know, something about that just, I don't like the idea of that. I think the cool thing about a house style actually is that you can piggyback off of things that are current, or I guess old, and when you use things from it, you get the benefits of whatever those people figured out, and the appeal, you tap into some of the appeal that art style has given to that form of media, right? But you also tap into the bad parts too, right? You're kind of creating your own style, and you're taking bits and pieces from everything. Like, I have a hard time with that, but I'm trying to take stuff from everything that I like. Oh, thanks, man. So, like, it's just like, you know, I don't know. Growing up, eventually, like, 'cause I didn't have, like, the internet back in the day. I'm pretty sure a lot of us didn't back in the day. And then eventually the internet got popping, and everybody had access to everything, you know? I remember some of the first sites I saw in a different language and went, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy, like, you know? I don't even think Google Translate was a thing like that yet at that point when I got to the internet. And then eventually you could translate some people's stuff, but a lot of it didn't work well or whatever, but you were just there for the art. I was there for the art. So I'll be like, okay, this guy is a Korean artist, or oh, they're this artist or that artist. Okay, cool. I like their art. And then you just start being like, oh, I like the way they draw. It could be anything. Ears. Oh my god, the way this guy draws ears is amazing. You know, and then you just start drawing ears like them. And then you go, okay, cool. And then you move on, and you go, oh, the way this guy, is another person, draws noses. That's really cool. And you start hopping around, just literally just stealing stuff left and right, like you're some sort of weird butcher, just taking bits and parts from people. Just give me that, yeah, give me your arm. I like when you draw arm, yeah. Like the way this guy draws eyes, taking that, you just taking all these things, becoming some sort of Frankenstein. And that's what your style kind of becomes. But when you get a little older, you might realize some of the things you put together clash. And this is something else I'm going to talk about in my video, where, you know, everybody has preconceived thoughts on anything, right? Anything. One of the I guess one of the things I'm probably going to do in the video is ask people to imagine. And then I'm going to give them a picture and see how close I got. But of course, it won't be interactive until I read the comments. But I'm pretty sure it'll be pretty successful, because trying to even think about making something interactive like that will work. But one of the examples will be essentially, imagine a detective in your head. What does a detective look like? What are the things you usually see them with? And then I will show them some pictures of some of the things you usually see a detective with. How they usually look, how they usually depict it. And then I would try to show them something left field where it's not something you usually see a detective with. Because that's important. Why is it important? Because you play with those ideas when you give someone a concept that they're already familiar with. Even when you verbalize it, you say, it's a detective story. Alright, cool. They're thinking, the detective trench coat joint. They're thinking the hat. They're thinking, shoot, magnifying glass maybe. Maybe a cigar. Maybe typing at a computer or a desk. Maybe a typewriter. All these things are our idea of what this is a popular concept and what we've gotten from it. And every time these certain things always come back to that idea. Usually see those things together, associated with this idea, this concept. Now, that means you have a choice. You could either go into that and borrow from it, meaning you're giving people what they expect to get, or you can go against that idea and create something different and give people a different aspect of what a detective could look like. But you're fighting against what people's idea of a thing is, what their assumption is, what they expect. So you're playing with their expectations. Now, there's a way to do that where it could be harmful, and there's not harmful, but detrimental, might not work as well. It depends on what you're going for, right? But to not realize you have that ability is to just create stagnated designs, create stagnation. If you already have a preconceived idea of what something's supposed to be, and every single time you design something's always essentially in that area, every time, you're always going to produce something that's super safe. It's kind of like the gaming industry, where they have these amazing artists who understand way more than I do, but they get hired to create generic designs. Because they're hired by these companies. These companies have all the money, and what do these companies are they not allowed to do? Fail. They have to make money, so it means they can't take risks. So your idea of changing the concept of what this detective story or this character is supposed to look like might be detrimental, because it could work, but it might not work. And because it might not work, they'd rather go with the more tried and true route, right? But when you're working on your own project, your own concept, under your own rules, you have the ability to take more risks. Definitely if it's a comic, because it takes less money to create comics. It takes, in a way, less risk to create a comic. Comics are how you say, comics are like fun, and they're yours if you're making it for yourself, and it's a commitment, right? That's the word I was saying. It's a commitment to like get it done, get it the way you want it to be done, and get it out at some sort of consistency. It could also be fulfilling just for you to do it that way. And if people get interested, that's great. And if you give them something interesting that they just want to come back to, that's great. You know, indie developers of games or comics or whatever have the ability to be outside the box. They get to do different things. They don't need to be so safe, and often they aren't. But when everybody's trying to be safe, including the indie crowd, like say on like a webtoon or a Tapas or wherever, if you're in the indie space and you're also being super safe with everything you're doing, everything is like, it's like if everything is everything that already exists and nothing is trying to be like different or even like better, it's just trying to be the same, then the stuff that we think is great now will always be great. And the stuff that we think is just whatever now will always be there, because nothing will ever change. So our top 10 right now, you know, your I don't know, your Killing Joke, if that's in there, you know, your Days of Future Past, you know, your trying to name stuff from different things, you know, your Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, your Avatar, The Last Airbender, the things you think are top 10 material will stay there because no one's going out their way, even in the indie space, to even create anything on a thought through level that could just be different, you know? Infinity War, yeah. You know what's funny? Infinity War, the movie was a cool movie in hindsight. And Endgame only has these certain moments in it that make it feel like it's worth rewatching. Infinity War feels so much more straightforward. Okay, or I guess Infinity Gauntlet, the comic. Yes, exactly, yes. That was great. Thanos with the freaking glowing eyes, the glint in his eye, man. That's spectacular. And that's another thing I want to talk about in the video. Literally going through, it's basically based off of style. It's a style video where we talk about essentially breaking down art to understand style better, right? Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about myself a bit. One of the things I also like in comics or in manga is called, I call it, like, I made this up, transformability. And when I say that, I don't mean literal transformations. Oh my goodness, you know, whatever a transformation sequence could be, you know, it could be a mech, it could be a person, whatever it is, whatever you can think of. I'm not talking about that. What I'm talking about is, like, it's the ability to have an art style that feels like it changes when it needs to. It's consistent with that, with those changes, and it consistently makes it more interesting. Almost like, to the untrained eye, nothing is changing, but it is always constantly changing, right? It's like, a small example would be like, you know, if you have a character here, and they're in a crowd. Okay, right, in a crowd. Cool. The characters in the crowd should have less detail than the person that's closest to us. And then, when we zoom in on those characters, and we have like a bigger, we can see more of them, we should get more detail on their faces. We get shadows or more distinct, understandable features and stuff like that, right? That's just understanding camera type stuff, right? But your eye does that. Your eye and you do that when you look at something. Like, this is a horrible example, I'm sorry. It looks so bad, I'm sorry. But, but like, you do that. When you look at someone and you're taking in, like, okay, you're bored and you're looking at the world and you could be depressed. When you're depressed, colors are not as saturated as when you feel good. Usually, you feel sad, you look at the world feels sad. You get less saturated colors, If there's brightness, it's too bright. You want to shield your eyes. It doesn't feel good. You know. When you feel good, colors get more saturated. When you are looking at someone and you're like looking in their direction, not really analyzing them, they have less detail than if you're really trying to take in their details. If you're really trying to look at someone, I don't know, maybe you're like falling in love, you know, and you're looking at them, you're taking in everything about them, everything. You're looking at them, you're looking at their face, and then if you're looking at their face, everything around, outside of that area gets blurry. It gets out of focus, right? And because that stuff is out of focus, it's not the focal point. It's not the area we're focused on. We manipulate cameras or camera lenses to give us these type of effects all the time when we shoot movies or videos or anything, you know. I think portrait mode in some cameras does that exactly. You know, it'll focus in on your face, it'll blur the background, so you won't focus in on the background, you focus in on the person. I like that in comics as well. In comics, you're reading it, and if the character is really small in the panel, you have less detail. If the character is bigger in the panel, they have a little bit more detail. If the author wants you to notice the character's physicality, they will give them extra shading and lighting on their form to show you their physicality. You know, if they want to show you, also you can have where, you know, that's just that part. You have it where in manga they do this thing, kind of spoiling my video a little bit, but this is just rambling in a way, but I'm just bringing up a lot of ideas. But yeah, but look forward to the video. But you know, you can have it where you have abstract ideas, right? Where it's easy, right? Focal, what is it called? Speed lines and focus lines in a comic, right? Where you have person and they're doing whatever, and you have this, you know, right? Do these lines actually exist? No, they do not. They do not actually exist, right? There's a way to do that type of effect and make them actually exist. Use actual objects in the frame, set it up to the perspective, to the vanishing point, and behind them, you can make it look like speed lines or focus lines. You can do that. But if you just do this, these focus lines do not actually exist in real space, in physical space. And of course, this sounds redundant if you've read comics before, but I'm trying to get more people to think about that type of thing, right? Because you'll see like you'll see a person in deep thought in a manga. They'll be like have this menacing aura, right? But since superhero comics teaches you that if someone has this type of thing around them, that it has to be an actual ability that's physical, you can't seem to, well, some people can't seem to separate the two. They see this and go, yo, there's an actual shroud around this person in physical space. What is that? And it's like, no, they're thinking menacingly, right? But it's like, you know, but are they? People are confused. People could be possibly confused. And that's the risk you take, I guess, when you're inspired by a lot of different comics. But when you're in the indie space, you can do whatever you want. You just have to do it and do it again and do it over and over again. So eventually people would know exactly what your intention is when you do these things, right? So you give people something to think on, and then when you show them again, it becomes like, oh, okay, I get what they're doing. I've read this comic before, I know what they're doing. That's how kids can get into, I guess, anything that's a little different, because eventually the visuals become context clues, you know? I didn't know a lot of the stuff I was trying to understand in like Japanese comics or manga back in the day when I was younger, but over time it's understandable. You just get it. Um, but that's another thing, right? If you take most of your understanding from what they do in American comics and you create something, that's where your pool of knowledge is from. So that's what is best to create, I guess, because that's what you have understanding in. And when you only read that type of comic, you're missing out on an international sense, if you will, of what people are doing in that medium. So you won't immediately know. But yeah, that's some of the ideas that I've been kind of thinking of, or thinking about. And there's a lot more, honestly, that gets a little bit more basic than that. But it's important, like I said. It's important to be able to think about like that. Like, start breaking things down. Even if you love something, you think it's perfect or something like that, nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect. I remember when Naruto was getting to a certain point. It was probably during the Ninja War with like the Edo Tensei and everything. And I was just like, I don't want to read this anymore. Something about it feels wrong or off. You know. And I was cool with that. I was just like, something about this doesn't rub me the right way. I don't like the way it's going. And I kind of stopped paying attention to it. I don't know. Something could have been going on in my life that was more important, But then when I came back to it and analyzed all of it, because, we've had years to do that, I just was like, yeah, there was a lot of things in Naruto for me that stood out where I was just like, there's some good here. There's a lot of just missed points, missed aspects, things that the author kind of dropped the ball on. And it's understandable. That person is human. There's going to be characters left sometimes without fulfilling the things that they could have. There's going to be changes to people's character that actually don't make enough sense for that to happen. And, sometimes the problem with that also could be time. Right? We don't have much time. A lot of time on the earth, And sometimes, you may plan something out, but didn't plan the way to get there properly. So jump ahead a little bit. I'm not saying it's right or anything like that. I'm just saying that, people be human and people make mistakes. But that doesn't mean that you should live in a world where the things you love can't be criticized, even by you, to the point where as you believe in just living in the good moments of the series you like. Definitely if you want to create something similar. Definitely. If, like, I'm stretching now. I gotta get up. Everybody should stand up after about an hour or so, stretch a little bit. I'm definitely I want to be a YouTube streamer or content creator or artist that promotes. Okay, that was a little scary. You good? I forgot you were here. You good? Talking to my cat. Promotes good health, taking care of yourself, taking breaks when you need to, and also learning, actually taking the time out to learn more things, experience more life, taking care of your loved ones, making sure you're good, all that good stuff. Because the industry is filled with people who are talented, but very much workaholics. And shoot, I could be that too. But I mean, like, they work so much that they don't take care of themselves. Sometimes they don't make great business decisions. They end up in really bad situations where only thing they can do is work. And the work they create isn't even something that they enjoy. And it ends up becoming another clone to something else that doesn't have enough nuance to it to be its own thing. It just goes and goes and goes, Makes me very sad. But yeah, what I was saying was, actually, let me get this cat up. You ready to go? Alright, hold on. Alright. What was it saying? Cannot live in a world where you want to create something that people you look up to have created. And they've done all this research from all the series that came before them. And you can't expect to create something even close to what they made if you can't even like criticize the series that you like. They're not perfect, and people who came after them knew that too. They studied them too, the same stuff you like, and they said, here's where they did well, here's where they didn't do well. Separated them, and they said, alright, want to make something similar, but do better in this regard. I have to have a different approach, a different angle, so that I don't end up completely repeating those mistakes. And then I gotta understand why these were mistakes. And sometimes you don't know based off of just a plot. Sometimes you know based off how you feel about it. And that's another thing, right? Depending on what type of person you are, this author could have done you wrong, if you will, right? You could be reading it, you could be like a woman or something, right? You could be a woman, and you can see how they write women, and you could be like, I don't like the way the author wrote or depicted this situation. It rubs me the wrong way. And for that, the author could lose points. You know, it might not be the author for you. And you don't, what is it called? Pull your punches just because anything, right? You are the reader, and when you read these stories, they either work for you or they don't. They're either written for you or they're not. Even if they aren't written for you, it doesn't mean that you can't come into the story and try to enjoy it anyway, right? Same thing when you're writing a story, you have to think about that aspect. If you're going to put something in the story and put effort into it, you have to think about both sides of how that works. Because in my opinion, when you create a comic book or write a story, you're inventing, I kind of say when you're telling a story, you're creating a conversation. It's not just, some people are like, writing a story or a comic is just about having an opinion. And it's like, no, it's about, sure, fine, but that's like half of it. Everybody has an opinion, so that's not the same. It's not consistent, I would say. I'd say it's more about having a conversation. The reason I say it's about having a conversation is, if you create a direction to go in a story, if you go, alright, this guy's gonna go straight forward, and you don't think of why, and then you don't come up with counter arguments, then every villain in your story, every setback in your story will always feel weak. Because there's gotta be that person, even if they're a villain, even if they're a comrade, even if they're a support character, anybody, there's gotta be someone with a counter argument. Why not go left? Why not go right? Why not go up? Why not go down? What if that's the best way to go? Instead of just forward, like just straight, straight in front of you. No, why not go down? If there's nobody with, something to say there where they're like, they have a counter argument. And that argument has to be a good one sometimes, definitely if they're one of these major villains or whatever, because if not, that means your character doesn't change. If your character has all the answers at the outset, then there is no argument that someone can put into place through dialogue or anything. You can't write it because you think that they're already perfect. You're creating a character that doesn't need to grow in this area. That means that there's not going to be a counterplay where the reader can feel like maybe they're right, or man, that's a really good point. They're actually right here, but they are extreme in their actions, and that's why they're wrong, right? Be like, I see where you're going there, but your actions are too extreme for the character to go down that road, and that's why they're wrong. Like, it's a conversation, and it's really a conversation because when I was I gotta keep saying when I was younger, but when photos were sepia tone and record players was something you would keep in your home, you know what I'm saying? Back then I would read comics on a week-to-week basis. I would go outside and I would talk to people who had read the same comics. I was like, wow, you guys are reading this? I didn't know you were reading this. And we would talk about it. And you see, when you create something and it gives way to conversation, they're talking about what you brought up in the comic. It doesn't matter what it is, it will be talked about a certain way. And if you don't do a good job in it, people will start weighing how much good you've done versus how much messed up stuff or misses you've made, and be like, I don't know if I want to read this anymore. That's how it is, right? You're any type of person, and an author doesn't go off their way to understand you, but puts you in the story. Like I ain't gonna go too into it, but essentially, you watch a story that's not about it's not about people where you're from. It could be like a whole different culture or whatever. And you can watch that and be like, you can be removed and kind of just be like, okay, let me just analyze these characters here. But as soon as they start talking about people about like where you're from and your culture, now you're like, all right, well, let's see how much they got right. Now you can actually be like, all right, well, let's see here. How much did you get right? How much research did it seems like you did? How close did you get to the source? Did you just fall into, what people believe about a culture, or the person's reading a culture, or people, whatever it is, right? Without doing enough research. And then this is a story, so again, this becomes conversation heavy. But then you have the fact that a lot of readers, depending on what the demographic is, could be quite young or naive. And because of that, whatever you do, you have some sort of responsibility to accurately depict something, if you're going to depict something that actually exists, right? And if you don't, people can take an offense to that. You can't bring up someone who's done something really bad in war, even if they're a fictional character and they do something comparatively, like you compare them to a real person who's done that same type of thing. You gotta depict it a certain way to make people not necessarily okay with it, but make it understandable the way you depicted it, right? I don't know what happened with like My Hero, but there was somebody like that, some sort of doctor who did something. I don't know, I didn't make it that far. I dropped it at about 200 plus chapters, stopped reading it. But whatever that happened with that, a lot of people felt offended or upset about something there, and I totally could understand that. One of the things I always, I'm still talking about style, by the way, guys. One of the things I noticed when I was younger that I always felt like held Naruto back is having like a variety of body types for like the cast of characters. But for me, it always felt like everybody had like the same diet. Like they all had the same diet. They all had the same feet, same hands. same arm build. All the guys looked like they almost was the same build. There was a couple people shorter here and there, fine, but their arm, like, I don't know, muscle amount or whatever, fat amount, was always relatively the same. Same thing with all the women, you know. And I just was like, why? Now, here's the thing. You will always be scrutinized when you put effort into an area and you don't put it into effort in another area. And I talked about this with my friends like this week, where essentially the Naruto artist, Sasha Kishimoto, they weren't focused on anything in that area as far as like giving variety there. So since everybody was essentially on the same playing field, no one cared, right? But when like the One Piece creator, Eiichiro Oda, you know, he actually does different body types, but everybody knows he kind of draws women in a very similar shape and pattern, right? Let's get something else to drink. Because of that, he's gonna take some flack for not giving people different variety of like women. All these guys with all these different shapes and all these different, you know, variety of, you know, shapes and sizes and exaggerations, and then the women are always just this Coke bottle shape all the time, every time, and you can swap Nami's face in, but like through like a lot of them, and they would all look like Nami in a way, you know, or they already kind of look like Nami. They have dark hair or black hair or lashes, whatever it is, and it relatively could be the same sort of characters there. So that's understandable though, right? But it's important to know about that. It's important to know about that because you can't be perfect at everything. You have to know what you want to put effort into. And I would say if you're going to put effort into it, try your best to make it good and have a variety of it, you know. Like, I feel like both Digimon and Pokemon have good designs. Pokemon probably has more good designs than Digimon, but Digimon still has a lot of good designs. And both of them have a lot larger variety of Mon. Right? Large number, large variety, shapes, sizes, different areas, all that good stuff. But yeah, I don't care how like boring that stuff might seem. I feel like it's important. As far as critically thinking about stuff, analyzing it. When I was just like 10 years ago, 12, 15 years ago, when I was serious about really wanting to do this. Soda, it makes you burp. Alright. When I was serious about wanting to do this, I had to really study. Right? You had to study a lot. Which is funny because I was already slightly doing some of the work that I needed to do. Some of these study methods or learning methods are in the Hirohiko Araki book, Manga in Theory and Practice. And really happy that book came out. As soon as it dropped, I got it immediately. And I've read through it, and shoot, I got like highlighted stuff in there and everything. The joint is, yeah. Still need to do a lot more work, but it's good to know I was on the right track, and I started a lot of the work. Yeah, a lot of the methods of just thinking about things in that book, and I think because of that, a lot of people can grow from learning from that book. Araki essentially speaks on how they do research on, you know, things that are popular that kind of stood the test of time in their genre. And they also study movies, TV shows, and authors, and why they do what they do, and all of that good stuff, to be able to have a better grasp on what they're doing from their standpoint. And I feel like there's no reason why people can't do that now, because they have the internet and all types of other things. The number one thing people are missing these days when it comes to like having access to all this stuff is the ability to kind of hyper focus on one specific thing. I'm really rambling today. Because you have so much to focus on that it's hard to kind of hyper focus on something. Right? There's a new show dropping, there's a new game dropping. Twitter is always, you know, got something going on. Somebody did this, somebody did that. News, all of this stuff. A lot of the great artists from back in the day, those guys were just built different because they didn't have the internet, but they had, you know, a artist or two that they really liked. And you know what they would do? They would collect newspaper clippings or whatever the heck they could get their hands on, and they would study it. They would study it a lot because it's all they had. So if you could find like something with really good anatomy back in the day, that's what you're getting. That's what you're doing. You get some copy paper. You about to copy the whole book. You about to redraw it. You about to study the proportions. You about to do everything you can to make that reference into something that really was used. Nowadays we have stuff like Pinterest where we'll put something in our folder, we'll use it like one time maybe, and then we'll never use it again. We won't study from those things at all. Trying to just get more people to think, get more people to try harder, get more people to see what they need to do and what they don't need to do. Once you understand what the job requires of you, you don't need to push so hard trying to compensate. Or what do I say? Overcompensate, I guess. Like when I got access to like Clip Studio, I was like, oh snap, I get all these tones for free. I'm about to tone. And then I found out like digital tones just don't look that great. Unless you really know how to manipulate them. And nothing looks as cool as actual real tone. But I didn't feel like I could draw as well, so I would always overuse tone. I would just use it. I was like, all right, I'm gonna draw this, I'm gonna draw that, I'm gonna tone. Or you ever see someone who draws fight scenes, but when they draw fight scenes, they always put a background in it where they don't need the background to be consistently? That person's trying to say, hey, I can draw. Look at y'all. Look. See that background I drew? I can draw. When in actuality, they're putting effort into an area that they don't need to. They could have drawn a whole nother panel. They could have drawn 5. Instead, they were cranking out a very detailed background in a fight scene where the background was already established on the same page or the previous page. They could have got away with whatever they wanted to because people are like, oh, this fight scene's crazy. The setting hasn't changed. They're in the same spot. And shoot, the camera angle might not have even changed. And they're like, I gotta show you I can draw this background. You know. I'm not saying I'm not guilty of doing that before. I'm just saying that a lot of people are still doing it. And it's understandable, but at the same time, it's important to know that, like, you know, you don't have to. Whoa. Alright, let's see. Let's focus in on this and see what else. So there's this part I'm kind of looking at where I don't kind of understand it. That's the thing about looking at like video game reference stuff. It's where like you see it and then there's so much detail and then sometimes the reference is like out of focus or something. You just like, I really can't tell what's happening here. That's how it feels looking at the Soul Calibur stuff. I feel like if they could just go like, I don't know, 10, maybe like 15%, it's like a percent type thing, less detail, that would be dope. It might be a little easier to draw. Not that I care that it's difficult to draw. I think it's cool when I can get it, like I feel accomplished when I can draw something even close to like a Soul Calibur art. And I feel like, you know, that's it makes it Soul Calibur, I guess. But I feel like if they could just take off, you know, a little bit of detail here and there, a little bit less intricate stuff, make it a little easier to draw. But then again, I'm just talking. It's not that serious at the same time. I just want to know what the heck this is. Like, I drew it from a reference, but it's been a while, and I'm just like, yo, what is that again? I'm trying to look and find. And I'm like, I guess it's like this chord joint. I guess all the chords are brown, so I guess I'll just go for that. Now I'll look back at the reference consistently, because we got the in-game model, which looks different from the dang on character art. Yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. Hope you guys are enjoying your day. And if you're not, hope you enjoy your night. And I hope you do well tomorrow. I hope if you're working on any projects that is going just fine. Yeah, we started a little early today, so it's still relatively, yeah, it's not very late. Got a message, I think. Did I? So I usually do like flats on like Clip Studio, but just this picture was in a Procreate, so I was like, well, I'll just do it here. I'll just try. But I don't know how to do the selection tools very well in Procreate, so I'll have to learn that later. But so far, it's not bad. Hmm. Hmm. Okay. see, can we change this a different color? Uh-uh. I guess you go for a deeper red. Alright, I like the way this is going. Hopefully everybody is staying hydrated and whatnot. Turn that off. Alright. There goes my kids. Enjoying their life. Or at least I hope. What the heck is that? Alright. Understand what that is now. Cool. My kid was scaring my other kid. Have kids, y'all. So I want to get rid of this line here. Is this even appearing? Yeah, it is. Okay, so I want to erase that there. Okay, I think that looks pretty cool. Oh wow, I thought I was using the eraser. Alright. Let's see. Let's take off the line work. That's how that looks. Not too bad. It's my only problem with like Procreate is I haven't figured it out enough. It's kind of difficult for me to do flats in this program. And yet, trying to do like flats in like Clip Studio right now would kind of be boring. So I'm gonna just do as much here on stream with you guys, and maybe later I'll go back and change some things or whatever. But I like where it's going. It's pretty cool. Alright, so I'm gonna create a new layer, finally. See if I can start adding in background stuff. This kind of looks like a French ultramarine or something. That's kind of funny. Alright, so... Can I just select that? on a bit of experimenting with this piece. I don't know if it's accurately coming across at all. I mean, I'm looking at this through an iPad screen, and what I see in front of me on what is this? My Cintiq or whatever. It looks similar, but not the same at all. Maybe it's because my brightness was down. Put it to about like almost 50%. Okay. Alright, it's a little rough here and there, but for the most part, it's kind of what I was going for. Okay. Like what? How do I want to do this? Doesn't have to be that color though. Guess it could be like a light green, maybe? Maybe that'll be what I'll do. Like that. It's a little too No. That's too green. Wait a minute, what was that color before? This? Okay. Hmm. I guess this is where I'll get ready to call it. This is past 11 now. Yeah, I would like to thank everybody who came through the stream. Appreciate it. You guys enjoyed some of the conversations that I had. Subscribe to the channel. I kind of talk about these types of things all the time. Just kind of was giving you guys a preview of kind of what was on my mind about the video I was working on. Don't know really when that video is gonna come out, but I'm gonna work on it probably next week because I'm gonna be busy this weekend. So yeah, expect it, I would say, either this coming Friday or next Friday, something like that. So here's where I'm at with the Wong picture. It's pretty fun so far. Doing some experimentation with the colors and whatnot, the shadows and whatnot. Hope you guys like that. Again, I would like to say that I have a comic called The Divinity. Let me turn this off and turn this off and turn that off. Yeah, alright. So I have a comic called The Divinity, which you guys can find on Webtoon. Really appreciate it if you guys check it out. It's over 200 plus pages. If you like action, if you like adventure, definitely check it out. If you're a fan of like shonen manga and whatnot like that, that's kind of what it's mostly similar to. So yeah, be sure to check that out. I also have a Patreon. If you guys enjoy the streams, the videos, and also the comic you want to support, I have a low $1 tier if you just want to throw $1 in there like a tip jar. Appreciate it. I do breakdowns of illustrations, my process. I have a lot of sketches in there, exclusive sketches of things that I work on as far as developing my skills, things I practice, gesture drawing, figure drawing, and character breakdowns and whatnot like that. Here's again, Boji worked on this for my wife, and there will be a breakdown of this coming soon. Here's like some examples I have again of the gestures and whatnot that I'm doing recently. Just did this today. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And yeah, here is this again with all the layers turned on. Yeah, so this is where I'm at with this, and I'll be finishing this up elsewhere and then posting it probably tomorrow. So yeah, thank you everyone, really appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace everyone.